Hello and welcome to Stratnews Global. I'm Surya Gangadharan. Today my guest is Jangchup Choeden. He is the Secretary General of the International Buddhist Confederation, and we're going to talk about India and Buddhism and how it is being projected outside at a time when some of our neighbors, including China, have shown a lot of interest in Buddhism for their own reasons, and they also see it as a means of advancing their national interest. Mr. Choeden, thank you for appearing on Stratnews Global. Glad to have you.
My pleasure to talk to you and then to be on this program.
Thank you. I understand the Buddha relics are now back in India sometime on the 19th of March they returned.
Yes, I was myself involved in bringing back the Buddha relics from Thailand. The last journey of the Buddha relic from Thailand to India happened from Krabi International Airport to the Palam Air Force Airport. And we had a kind of a wonderful trip back to home. And we were received so well at the Palam Airport. And we were kind of we had a greatly kind of impressive farewell kind of from Krabi Airport. And then after that, we also have a kind of a reception at the kind of National Museum. Mm-hmm. So at the end, I think it was very satisfying journey, and we enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Are there plans to display the relics in other places in Southeast Asia?
Of course, we love to. And I do believe very strongly that the Indian government also loves that. And but these display of the relics require a lot of kind of preparation at this kind of earlier stage, and these preparation involves a lot of kind of discussions at the bureaucracy level, and then a decision from the political level. So it's not that simple, but we do believe that it is doable and it must be done, and it must be done for the benefit of both the countries those are involved. There are possibilities to do the future display of the relics in Cambodia and Vietnam and many other countries, because those many other countries also appear to be quite interested in having similar things happen in their country.
Mm-hmm. This interest in Buddhism on the part of the establishment in India appears fairly recent. Is it also because there's a lot of sense that a neighbor like China, for instance, is investing a lot in Buddhism, in Buddhist universities, I understand, from what you were telling me a little while ago?
I do believe that China and whatever a country is, as long as they treat Buddhism as a kind of valuable part of their heritage, then they will definitely try to do something to strengthen it, or try to do something to use it for the national interest or the benefit. So China may be doing things from that angle, and then India also have its own rights to do those things. And I do believe India is also doing those things, particularly as Mr. Surya ji, as you have spoken, this appears to be a quite recent kind of thing that has happened. From my personal point of view, it appears to me like since in Hindi we say Mananiya Pradhan Mantri, or other words they say Yashasvi Pradhan Mantri. Whatever we say, anyway, kind of Mr. Narendra Modi, after becoming the Prime Minister, I think he displayed a kind of a lot of keen interest in promoting Buddhism and including Buddhism in the India's narrative. Do you remember that when he was addressing the UN, he was telling that I came from the land of Buddha, not from the land of war. So we give peace to the world, not the war to the world. So if we look into the past, we had around 13 to 14 prime ministers in this country. But who dare to say those kind of votes in UN? I don't remember, as long as my memory goes back. So I think maybe it could be kind of a institutional kind of a decision. But personally, I had this feeling like Mr. Narendra Modi has, at certain level, a personal interest and personal kind of a, respect to the Buddha, which reflects in his lectures and his kind of addresses. So I think that may be due to that reason what you were telling just a few minutes ago.
Is there also a sense that maybe a country like China, for instance, maybe taking over Buddhism in a sense, because they have been very active in promoting Buddhism from their side, and they have deep pockets, we all know that.
As I told you earlier, from the strategic angle, every country will try to use their assets, whatever assets they have. And of course, in China, there are kind of many, many thousands of kind of Buddhist temples all over the China. Like if we talk about the Tibet used to have kind of millions of temples. And then out of that, they claim that almost 6,000 plus temples were completely destroyed. Still, they were having many, many thousand temples. So similarly, it happens in China. And many Chinese emperors were devout Buddhists. So Buddhism has a huge influence in China. And since China is surrounded by many Buddhist countries, it shares border with a lot of Buddhist countries. And it's in their favor if they kind of try to engage the neighboring countries with using the kind of Buddhism as a kind of a point of connection.
It's a bit strange, isn't it? An atheist country, officially atheist, which is so involved and invested in Buddhism.
Yeah, this is really kind of a very, very, how to say, tit for tat kind of a thing. Like ideologically, you doesn't believe in any kind of religious philosophy and religious kind of teachings and anything. But when it comes to connect with the other countries and all those things, do something in an international kind of platform, you try to kind of bring something that has nothing to do with your ideology in front and then try to use it. But it appears like it's just using things as a tool to achieve some means or achieve some benefits.
Is China trying to reinvent Buddhism by any chance? I mean, is there any view on this among Buddhist scholars? You meet so many of them from all over the world.
You see, reinventing Buddhism, people may try that. People may try that because Buddhism is in itself is a very flexible and adaptive kind of religion. It doesn't represent that rigidity. So even we compare within the Buddhism, we will see a huge differences in terms of clothing, in terms of kind of lifestyle, in terms of food kind of a habit, and all those things. We see huge variations, which is very rare in other tradition or other religion. So Buddhism is a kind of a very flexible and very adaptive and very open. So it could be possible that they try to kind of misuse that and then try to reinvent the Buddhism and try to like in China, when we talk about like that, they are trying to also reinvent Islamic ideology to some extent. They say that Islam with a nationalistic approach. So they will definitely try to do the Buddhism something similar to the Buddhism or any kind of a thing that is they think influential.
Do Chinese Buddhist scholars come here? Do they interact with you all?
I do meet some Chinese Buddhist scholars from time to time when I travel, but meeting them in India is not that often because these past couple of years, due to the conflict between India and China at the border, I think movement in between two countries also became quite kind of difficult. So, but we do meet them. And they do have their particular kind of way of presenting the things, and they do have their own kind of traditional things. So those kind of things are there.
Buddhism actually came to China from India.
Of course, yes. Buddhism, wherever it has gone,
Originally from here.
so it has to return back. It has to kind of connect back to its roots. That comes from India. There is no second opinion on that. People may try to claim, but they may never stand.
But this is universally accepted. I mean, that India is the home of the Buddha, and he spent much of his life here.
Of course, that's
and he died here.
Universally accepted truth. Even if someone tried to kind of manipulate that truth, they can't do that.
But do you see efforts being made in that direction to perhaps take ownership of Buddhism?
So I think it may happen. It may happen with some kind of how to say, some agenda behind it. Maybe it could be kind of a political agenda. It could be some kind of other agendas or something else. But if we go back and then look into the history, that will never be kind of approvable at all.
Tell me, how do you in this office, the International Buddhist Confederation, see your role? You want to take obviously Buddhism forward, given the fact that Buddhism in India is at a very low profile, whether in numbers or whatever. How do you manage these contradictions?
Buddhism at presently in India, in terms of percentage of the population, it's minute, and that's the truth. But when we look into the kind of historical perspective, the influence of Buddhism on India is kind of huge, kind of gigantic. So from that point of view, I think India taking ownership of Buddhism and trying to do something for the kind of strengthening of Buddhism will be helpful for this country and will be helpful for the international kind of Buddhist community. Because all the Buddhist countries in the course of past kind of many hundred years, almost 1,000 years, they have developed a concept where they look at the India as a holy land, not as a kind of another country. They look at India as a holy land where Buddha walked, where Buddha kind of taught, and from where this holy religion kind of came out and its roots lies. So from that point of view, I think if India's kind of treatment towards the Buddhism and the way the India views Buddhism changes and strengthen, and that will help India to strengthen its relationship with all those countries where Buddhism is in a majority or at a sizable kind of population, a sizable percentage of population. So I think this is something that Indian government understands, and due to that understanding, they are trying to kind of come up with some activities and some kind of projects and those kind of things that we at the IBC is more than happy to kind of execute those kind of activities, because after all, I come as a person, I come from kind of a Buddhist community, and I'm a Buddhist monk. So I should be doing everything that is kind of at my capacity to further strengthen Buddhism at the global level and at the national level. So when we talk about the strengthen Buddhism at the national level, it doesn't mean that we are kind of competing with someone. We look at the things from like this kind of great tradition was born in this country, so it must sustain and kind of perpetuate in this country for a long time, for the benefit of the country itself and for the benefit of those people who are following this faith.
So when you all meet with other Buddhist monks from all over the world, what is it that you decide on? Do you have an agenda, say for the next 3 years until the next meeting? Do you have plans? What do you work on?
You see, frankly talking to you, Buddhism is not an organized religion like Catholicism or some other religion. It's a very, very deeply fragmented religion. It's a very deeply scattered. So Buddhism doesn't have a kind of central headquarter. But this kind of organization provides an international platform for the Buddhist followers. And they come, and when we meet and when we discuss certain things that could be in a kind of a benefit of the common benefit of all the Buddhists. So then we try to work on those things. But there are a lot of challenges. Of course, we also achieve something, but it is not that there are not challenges. There are a lot of challenges because of Buddhism being a very deeply fragmented religion.
And there are different traditions elsewhere.
Of course, yes.
And those undercurrents.
Yeah, of course, yes.
So would you say the Buddhism practice in Sri Lanka very different from what it is in Mongolia, maybe Tibet?
Of course, yes, of course. When you put those groups together, it may appear like these are completely different religions, different followers of different religion brought on the same stage, and then they are doing different chants and different rituals and different kind of things.
And different languages.
Yeah, completely different language.
So how do you mesh? I mean, is there, in the absence of any unifying kind of authority?
You see, I used to tell my kind of colleagues and friends that it's an irony that whenever we get together on an international platform, we have to use a foreign language to communicate between us. Because most of the time we have to use English. English has nothing to do with the Buddhism. It's a completely kind of foreign language for us, for the Buddhist people. But we have no choice. When we go to the kind of international forum or international platform, most of the time we have to use English to communicate between us. We cannot use any kind of those languages. Those are kind of prominent languages in those Buddhist countries. If we try to use that, then the rest of them, I think maybe 90% of them, they will never understand each other.
What about Pali? I mean, if you can...
No, Pali is not a kind of how to say, a language communication, at least. It's limited up to just a scholars community. It won't go beyond that. It's quite similar like Sanskrit. Sanskrit is also kind of limited up to the scholars community. It won't go beyond that. So the Pali is the same thing.
So last question, when you look at your position here and you look at how Buddhism is evolving, at least in terms of how the government sees it and what they want to do with it, and you see how Buddhism is shaping up overseas, what would you feel that we should be doing at this point?
I think I do have some understanding, like as a secular state, there are limited things that the Indian government can do. But with knowing that this is a valuable heritage of this country, and they also have some kind of responsibility to do something. So one thing is, all the holy places related to the Buddha, except one, is all kind of located in India. The one that is just next to the border of India, the Lumbini, where Buddha was born. The rest of them, where Buddha spent his kind of maximum number of his life, where Buddha was enlightened, where Buddha passed away, all of those holy places are just located in India. So these are the assets of this nation. And the nation should be proud of it and then do everything necessary to further improve it, develop it, and then strengthen it. And through that, I think the nation can achieve a lot of other things.
Are this being done in any way? Rajgir, Sarnath, anywhere?
There are some works going on. I feel good about that. But there is no limit for the wishes. Their wishes could be much higher. But I think we also need to understand the ground reality that India has so many religions existing in this country. They also need to treat the other religion, and then it's not that all the resources can be just used for the one religion only. It's impossible to do that. So we have to be realistic, and then I think when we think in a realistic way, India is doing quite well. We are happy about that. But I think things should continue the way, and then now the election is going on. Hopefully after the election there will be more new things coming up. Now due to the election declaration, a lot of things are just remaining dormant.
So thank you very much
for
this meeting and this interview and this conversation. A lot of perspective there, and I'm sure our viewers will enjoy this
it's my pleasure.
Very unique
Sure.
Q&A on Buddhism. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Surya.
That's all we have for you on this edition of Stratnews Global. Thank you very much. Good day.